All right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai. All praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Chodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of GMS. To you I say shalom, and also shalom unto the elder bishops as well that have taught me this truth. And shalom unto you, Akim, and shalom unto the hopeful elect. Now, I just want to talk about this interview that I was listening to from the Breakfast Club, and the Breakfast Club interviewed Dr. Umar Johnson. It says here, Dr. Umar talks bunny hopping, Supreme Court immunity, the migrant crisis, black male unity, plus more, right? So, yeah, now if you're not familiar with Dr. Umar Johnson, he's a Pan-Africanist. Now, I'll say this, man. Dr. Umar Johnson, for the most part, he's an intelligent individual, and he does have the credentials to back that up. So, he comes with facts, and he does, say some truth, man. He does bring out some facts and stats about Pan-Africanism. And what do I mean by that? He brings out some truth about the negative effects that colonialism and white supremacy had and still has on our people to this very day. And that's why we're so dysfunctional as a people. And what do I mean by a people? I'm talking about you Israelites, you so-called blacks. All right. So he does spit some facts, man. He says some truth. But for the most part, that whole Pan-Africanism, all Africans uniting together, that isn't in the scriptures. And just because we may have the same features or the same phenotype as Africans, that doesn't mean we're the same people. Just because we have the same phenotype does not mean we have the same genotype. And the genotype is very important because that's your seed line, where you go back to. And your seed determines the spirit that you have. So our genealogy goes back to who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And where do they go back to? They go back to Adam, the sons of God. Okay, so that's who we go back to. And that's how our spirit is determined through the line of our forefathers. So he doesn't believe in all of that. Now, if you're not familiar with Pan-Africanism, Pan-Africanism is just a general term that is used for various movements that come out of Africa. And those movements, they all have the same common goal, which is to unite all Africans and to eliminate white supremacy and colonialism from Africa, okay? And the minds of all Africans. So it's to eliminate white supremacy and colonialism from the continent of Africa and to erase that type of thinking from our people, because our people have been brainwashed and destroyed. So that's the spirit that he's coming in. Now, as an Israelite, we don't believe in that. But we do believe in a diaspora, right? Because we do have Israelites scattered among the nations and among Ham in Africa, right? But that goes back to the curses, and he's not bringing that out. Right? He's not bringing that out. Colonialism, white supremacy, us not being able to unite and stay organized like these other nations, it goes back to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 15th verse on down, right? So really, Dr. Umar Johnson, with the so-called solutions that he's bringing forth to help the so-called black community, to help Africans, those things are only going to treat the symptoms, right, of our issues. That's just a small treatment. It's not going to help. It's not going to help heal us, right? It's just going to treat the symptoms. It's not going to get to the core root of the problem, because first of all, the reason why we're under the curses is because of our disobedience against Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And really, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is the only one that can remove the curses off from us. And that's why we are not doing good as a nation, as a people. Because earlier he made a point, well not him, but Salakia, they asked him a question, the Breakfast Club asked him a question about how come, even in crime, black people, organized crime, black people can't even unite. And they said that, you have the Italian mafia, you have the Chinese mafia, you have the Irish mafia, the Jewish mafia. They're all united, and they all don't fight each other like how blacks do. Blacks will be so quick to turn against each other. And then what was his answer? Dr. Umar Johnson, he's like, yeah, because that goes back to self-hate, right? Self-hate. They hate the elder. They hate the younger. They hate themselves, and they feel like they have to be validated by so-called whites. That was his answer, right? But that only treats the symptoms. That's not getting rid of the problem, right? That's not getting rid of the problem. Now let me get a precept, right? Because Yahweh Shai is going to get rid of that problem, what we're going through. I don't know, what should I start at? Should I start at Deuteronomy 28:64 or Baruch? You know what? Let me get Baruch chapter 2, verse 30, and then I'll move around. I don't know. I was going to start at Hebrews 11 here, but then it changed. So let me get that. Let me get Baruch here. Baruch. Baruch chapter 2, verse 30. I'm going to start here. Actually, let me start at verse 28. Baruch chapter 2, verse 28. As thou spakest by thy servant Moses in the day when thou didst command him to write the law before the children of Yasha'Allah, saying, if ye will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them. That's right. So we're going to be divided. We're going to be scattered. We're not going to be able to unite, because we're scattered among all nations. So if we're scattered among all nations, that means we're going to mingle with them. We're going to speak like them, talk like them, and also worship their gods. Right? So for example, man, if I'm an Israelite and I get scattered into China, I'm around the so-called Chinese, which are the Moabites. By default, most likely I'm going to marry a Chinese woman, because that's all that there is around me. Because I'm the only so-called black man there, right? Wherever I am in that city. So guess what? I'm going to have a child with that Moabite woman, and the child's going to come out looking like a so-called Chinese person, right? So then they're going to grow up and think that they're a Moabite. That happened to our people. So we have lost our identity. We have lost who we are. And that's a curse. That's actually a curse, to be scattered. So, he talks about a black diaspora being in Africa, and, he talks very highly of that, and like it's something to be proud of, but it really isn't. That's an actual curse, to be scattered among all these other nations, especially among Ham. That's a curse, man. Right? Talking about the black diaspora, what the hell does that mean? That's not a good thing, to be scattered. Verse 30, for I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves. And, we are very stiff-necked people, hard-headed. We don't listen, even though the answers are being told to us, we're still not going to listen to it, right? And to this very day, we're still stiff-necked. Man, Dr. Umar Johnson knows that he's an Israelite. He heard about the Israelite doctrine. He heard about it. He knows the elders. He knows even other Israelite groups. He's like, yeah, I fuck with some of them sometimes, or I mess with them sometimes. I deal with them sometimes. Not fuck. He said, I deal with them. Right? I gotta make sure I quote him right. I deal with them sometimes. So he knows about that doctrine, but he doesn't want to accept it. So we are a very stiff-necked people, very rebellious. But in the land of their captivity, they shall remember. That's right. So the land of our captivities, and weren't we captives over here in America, North America? That includes Canada, because Canada had slavery. A lot of people don't talk about that history. I never learned about slavery in Canada in school. Never. I never learned about that. The public school system is really a joke over here too. Especially even when you go into post-secondary. It's just pay to get a degree. If you have as much money if you can pay and you know how to cheat good, you're going to get your degree. You're going to do very well. But yeah, I was never taught about slavery here. But anyways, it says, but in the land of their captivity they shall remember themselves. And we are. And the scriptures was written aforetime for our learning. We are remembering it because we got the Lord's prophets. They've come out to the highways and byways and taught this truth, right? And now remembering who we are, right? And that's why I wanted to go into Hebrews the 11th chapter, because that's exactly what Moses went through. Because he was actually in captivity. You know, he was born in captivity, but he was adopted into a royal household. And he lived like a prince. But he had a yearning to go back to his people. He had a yearning to go back to serving his power. And why is that? Because he was in captivity. He saw the state of his people. And that also proves, man, we can blend in among the other dark nations and act like them, speak like them, talk like them. But that doesn't mean we're the same people. So we have to cut this, man. Whenever you see Pan-Africanism and stuff like this, you got to cut this. You got to cut this, because this is a cancer too. This is a strange doctrine. We got to cut this, which we have. Our elders, they've cut this many times, man. All right, so let me go back here and just finish it up. So it says, but in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. And we are remembering who we are in the spirit. What we are. We're remembering. And that goes back to Amos, the 9th chapter and 11th verse. The tabernacles of David being built up, slowly being built up in the spirit. So, yeah, we're remembering who we are. And we don't want to be associated with Pan-Africanism. We don't want to be associated with black consciousness. We don't want to be associated with Islam, because that's not for us. Verse 31, and shall know that I am the Lord their power, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear. That's right. So if you can hear it, if you can receive it, right? If your ears can hear it, and if your mind can receive it, then you're going to acknowledge Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai while being in your captivity. And we are in our captivity to this very day. We are. And there's so many ways to prove that. You know, by default, you know, you have a SIN number, you have a birth certificate. You're under all these different contracts. Why is that? Why are you given a straw man? You know, you're only given a straw man because you're property. If you weren't property, you wouldn't have a SIN. You wouldn't have a birth certificate. So there's many ways to prove that you're in captivity, and we are in captivity. Man, go back into history, man. The colonial period. You know, we were in slavery, man. Our ancestors, they were in slavery, man, being treated like cattle. And you Gadites, you had your land stolen away from you, or stolen from you, right? So, yeah, man. Okay, so it says here, and think upon my name, and the name is Yahweh. He is to be, and his son's name is Yahushai. He is the Savior, or he is the deliverer. Verse 33, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their forefathers which sinned before the Lord. That's right, and you're going to remember your forefathers. You're going to remember, and you're going to also remember in the Spirit, you are your forefathers coming back through the third and fourth generation. You're going to realize you sinned, and that's why you're in the predicament that you're in. And you have to be very spiritual. You see, he's not spiritual. He's just carnal. You know, for the most part, he looks at the outer appearance, Mr. Dr. Umar Johnson, because that's all he knows. Right? That's all he knows. You know, he's not really spiritual. Faith is the evidence of things hoped for. Faith is the substance of things. You know, I believe it goes, I think I said, faith is the substance. Faith is the evidence of things not seen. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. Yeah, I believe. That's Hebrews, the 11th chapter. You see, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that faith. And that's okay. It's just not given to him. I'm not mad at him. That's just how he's set up. Verse 34, and I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So you see that? Those are your progenitors. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the genealogy. Okay, so that's where your genotype comes from, not your phenotype. Not your phenotype. And he's heavily into that, man, the phenotype. It's about your father, who you go back to. So you have a lot of Israelites that look white. You have a lot of Israelites that look Chinese. You have a lot of Israelites that look like the other nations, man. Come on. And they shall be lords of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power, and they shall be my people. And I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given. And that's going to be a part of the fulfillment of the second covenant. And we're not there yet. We're not there yet. But it's soon to come. It's soon to come. And it's going to happen. What this man is yearning for is going to happen, but it's not going to happen the way he thinks it's going to happen. It's going to happen through divine intervention. It's going to happen through Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and our people coming back to the law, statutes, and commandments. That's how it's going to happen. It's not going to happen through Pan-Africanism. You see, this shows we're going to be united, man. We're going to be united. Now, let's go into Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 11. I'm going to start at verse 24. Because we read back in Baruch about how in verse 34, I knew that they would not hear me because it is stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves. Remember, it says captivities, not captivity. Captivities is plural because we've been in many captivities. Captivity does not just pertain to America. It happened in the past. So this applies to every captivity that we were in, how we were going to feel. So that's exactly how Moses felt. So this is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 24. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, you see faith, okay, it's something that he couldn't see. He knew it was right. In the spirit, he knew something was wrong and something had to change. He couldn't really explain it to people the way he wanted to. And if he did, people wouldn't believe him. People would try and fight him and rebuttal him. So by faith, he knew there was a problem. He knew by faith there was a problem. When he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. That's right. He refused to be called a prince of Pharaoh. All right. And also an Egyptian. He refused that. But a lot of you Israelites, you're not thinking that way. You want to be called a Pharaoh. You want to be called an African. You want to be called an Egyptian. That's why you come under the name of Pan-Africanist. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I believe in Pan-Africanism. I like black consciousness. That ain't going to help you. Verse 25, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. That's right. So he'd rather be afflicted than live like a prince or a king. Really was going to live like a prince, but because he can't sit on that throne. He's not legitimate. So he was going to live like a prince, an adopted prince. All the luxuries. He was going to experience all the luxuries of that time. Just like how Jake is experiencing the luxuries of this time. Private jets, cooks, drivers, jewelry, fast cars, fast women, beautiful women too. Beautiful women. They go above 10. They're way above 10. All right? 10s and ups. That's what they're dealing with. You have Jake living like that. You have Jake that are so-called honorary white people. Like Magic Johnson. He's considered an honorary white person. That's how some of them look at Magic Johnson, man, believe it or not. But yeah, it says here then to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. The pleasures of sin. And what is sin? Sin is transgressing the law. Hey, man, and if you're into Egyptology, if you're into Pan-Africanism, hey, man, you're transgressing the law. Because whatever comes out of the Hamitic nations, whatever doctrines they have, it's all madness. And it's contrary to what Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai wants you to do, which is the law, statutes, and commandments, man. Verse 26, esteeming the reproach of Yahweh Shai greater riches than treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. Because he's gonna inherit all things. Because what he has now in Egypt, that's temporal. That's only for a moment. But what he's going to get in the long run is everlasting life and everything that you desire in righteousness. So he's like, okay, you know what? I'll sacrifice for this little moment, catch hell, and serve the Lord. Verse 27, by faith he forsook Egypt. So by faith he did it, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. That's right. And the Lord is the invisible power that rules the earth. Right? So let me read up a little bit, give you a better idea. That's why they're using the word invisible. That's why they're using the word faith, because this all pertains to faith and what it's really about. So Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtain a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. And that's right. So, a lot of people don't have faith because faith is a gift. And it's a type of gift that allows you to see things that are not there. Right? Okay. But yeah, that's what I wanted to read. All right, so let me just finish up here. Verse 28, last verse. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of the blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. That's right. So he was he lived amongst the Egyptians on a high level. He blended in. But in the spirit, he knew he wasn't an Egyptian. He wasn't an African. Okay? He knew he was an Israelite, and he had a yearning to serve his people and to serve his Lord. So he was called to go back to his own people. That's why you got to read the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. It makes a distinction between the Negroes and the other dark nations. Right? Sons of Ham are the dark nations, excluding the Negroes. Except the Negroes. And we look the same. If we mingle among each other, we go around each other, we may look alike. You can blend in. But that doesn't mean we're the same people. And that's what Dr. Umar Johnson doesn't want to accept. He doesn't want to accept that. All right, so let me get Deuteronomy 28, verse 64. Because the diaspora goes back to the curses, right? The curses. And he wants to say, if all Africans unite, we'll be unstoppable. No, if all Israelites come together and unite under one consent, which is serving Yahweh Bashim Yoshai, then we will be unstoppable. And that's always been the case, man. You can get the example in Judith, the 5th chapter, and I believe it was from the 15th verse on down. I think it was either an Ammonite or a Moabite general. He was giving a history lesson to the other nations that were with him, telling them about how the Israelites function. If they get together and they serve their power, they'll be unstoppable. Nobody can come up against them. Right? So, no, it's not about all Africans uniting. It's all about Israelites uniting. And even that is halted in this life because Yahweh Shai, he's the one that has to unite the tribes. That's why when you go back into Amos 9 and 11, you go back into Isaiah chapter 9 and 6, Yahweh Shai is the one that's going to unite all Israelites. Come on, man. Come on. So let me go back into Deuteronomy. We'll go into it. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. And it says here, and Yahweh Bashim Yahushai shall scatter thee among all people. That's right, all people, scatter thee among all people. So all people. So that includes every single nation that is on the planet. We're going to be scattered among them. From the one end of the earth, even unto the other. Right, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. And that happened. That's a curse. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Wow. So we're going to be caught up into these different philosophies, these different doctrines. Hey, man, the wood and stone, I believe the wood, it goes back to the cross. Christianity. Our people are bugged out in Christianity, worshiping Jebus, white Jesus, right? And stone, which is the Kaaba stone, Islam, worshiping wood and stone, our people. And that's just one example. Those are just a few examples. So, the diaspora, it is in the Bible, but it's not a good thing. We're not supposed to be scattered like that. That's a curse. It's not a good thing, man. Verse 65, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. So that's why you're not doing well in America. That's why you're not doing well in China. That's why everybody hates you. Everybody hates blacks, man. Even blacks hate blacks. And you're scattered among the tribes, man. Even among your people, because your people are bugged out. That's another story, man. That's another can of worms. You got Issachar, they hate Asher. Asher hates Naphtali. You got Benjamin, they hate Levi. Because there's beef amongst Jamaicans and Haitians, man. They don't like each other. So you're not going to have any ease. You're not going to find no rest. You're always going to be catching hell. You're going to always be under these nations. That's the curses. And that's why you can't stay. That's why you can't get organized. But Yahweh Bashim Yahushai shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. That's right. It's very terrible. It's very miserable. A very miserable existence. Very miserable. And no one can get you out except the power that put you in that position. All right. So, yeah. Now, I just wanted to go back here, going into the scattering. And it's true, man. If our people could unite with one common interest, I'd have to say we would be a very formidable body, and we would be able to deal with the most powerful, like, states and powerful. We will be able to deal with the most powerful states and princes, kings, monarchs, right? But it's because we're under the curses, or this curse, that we are scattered and we are not able to incorporate. So it's true. That's why we don't have a temple. That's why we don't have an altar. That's why we don't really have a priesthood. The priesthood's coming back, like I said, going into Amos 9:11, which I'll get that. But for the most part, as a whole, man, we don't have any of those things. Only the elect does. And that's slowly being built up. And even in that, there's kinks. Because not all Israelites in this day and age are united. All right? You got individuals changing the doctrine and not teaching the truth right. Anyways, man. I'm just freestyling. These are just things that are coming to my head. So let me get Amos 9:11. Since I quoted that a lot. It says, the restoration of Israel. And that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, and of all the heathen, which are called by my name, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, that doeth this. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes, him that soweth seed, and the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. And I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities, and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards, and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens, and eat the fruit of them. All right, so really I wanted to go into the restoration, and we're in that time of that tabernacle of David being built up. But the only one that's going to be able to close up the breaches thereof is Yahushai. Right? We have to come under that name, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You have to worship the Lord the real authentic way, to the best of your ability. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. That's right. And it's going to be built up as in the days of old, but it's going to be 1,000,000 times stronger. It's going to be in its perfection. And like I said, that starts with Yahushai. You're going to have the Heavenly Father, Yahushai, then King David, and the 12 on down. And that's the order. So it's going to be built up as in the days of old, with King David being the king under Yahushai. All right, and we're going to possess the nation of Edom. You Edomites, you so-called white people. Edom means red. You red people that are living on this earth, living on high, that are over the whole world. You guys are going to go down. You're going to go into captivity. And all the heathen, you're going to go down too. All right, so let me get Isaiah chapter 9. This is Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. And it says here, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty Power, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and the peace there shall be no end, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai of armies will perform this. Okay, so it's all given to Yahushai. Yahushai is going to put the nation of Israel in order. And guess what? King David is going to sit upon that throne, and it's going to be an everlasting kingdom. Right, and that's what we're looking forward to. So he's not, he wants this to happen, but he doesn't want it the way the Lord wants it to happen. Like he wants peace among so-called blacks only. He wants what the scriptures is talking about, but he wants it in his own twisted way, and that's not how it's going to be done. Anyways, with that, I just want to give all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakaha Chodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well and do teach well, that have taught me this truth. To you I say Shalom, and Shalom unto the hopeful elect, Kwame Sha'ala and Abad Babal. Shalom.